Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Count, here with a brand new Pokemon Go discussion video. So we're about to get a brand new kind of Shadow Legendary Pokemon, and this is definitely a game changer. In the end of the Johto Tour event, you're going to be able to get an Apex Shadow Ho-Oh or an Apex Shadow Lugia. These are going to be some of the most powerful shadows that you can get, and you definitely do not want to miss out on them. I'm going to be talking about these particular Pokemon in this video, as well as discuss how this is going to change the Pokemon Go landscape moving forward. Alright, so without further ado, let's roll the intro and jump right into it. Okay, so Apex Shadow Lugia and Apex Shadow Ho-Oh. These are two new kinds of Shadow Pokemon that Niantic recently announced, and it was kind of a surprise that no one really expected. In order to get these powerful Shadow Pokemon, you will need to complete the special research tied to the Pokemon Go Johto Tour event. This means that if you are a Johto Tour ticket holder, the value of that ticket just went up exponentially because you will have access to both of these Shadow Pokemon, and of course they are going to be a lot more powerful than your typical Shadow Ho-Oh or Shadow Lugia. Of course, over the past year, we already seen a Shadow Lugia and Shadow Ho-Oh, and they were both obtainable through Giovanni battles, but this time around, they are going to be the Apex versions of these Shadows, and yes, there is a noticeable difference. First and foremost, both of these Shadow Pokemon are going to have a completely different Shadow Glow, and on top of that, both these Pokemon are going to have enhanced versions of their moves, and that's going to make them extremely powerful compared to regular Shadows. When you catch Apex Shadow Ho-Oh, it's going to have Sacred Fire Plus, which is going to give it 130 power in trainer battles and 135 power in gyms and raids. This is a sizable boost to its original move, and it's definitely going to be something that you will want to utilize, especially when it comes to raids. Apex Shadow Ho-Oh might actually end up outclassing a lot of fire types out there in terms of raid DPS, and it's something that you might want to bring to the Go Battle League, especially if you want to use a very powerful Shadow in the Master League. Now here's something that's interesting. If you purify Apex Shadow Ho-Oh, you will be able to get Sacred Fire Plus. Now this is an even more powerful version of Sacred Fire, and it's going to give you 155 power when you use it in gyms and raids. Now, of course, this is still not going to make up for the shadow damage bonus that you would get if you kept it Shadow, so do keep that in mind. You will probably want to save those candies and Stardust in order to purify this Pokemon. It's still going to be more powerful as a Shadow Pokemon. Next up, you will also be able to get Apex Shadow Lugia, and it's going to have the move Aeroblast Plus. This is an extremely powerful flying type attack. It's going to have 170 power in trainer battles and 200 power in gyms and raids. Now, if you purify this Pokemon, it's also going to have a more powerful version of Aeroblast, and it's going to be Aeroblast Plus. And of course, it's going to have a sizable increase in the amount of damage in gyms and raids. It's going to have 225 power. Something to keep in mind is that for Johto Tour ticket holders, you will be able to get both of these Pokemon, so that is something that you need to keep in mind. You do not have to choose the gold or silver version of the Johto Tour ticket based on these particular Pokemon. Regardless of what version of the ticket you get, you will get both of these Pokemon once you complete the Masterwork research that will come after you complete the special research for the Johto Tour event. So what exactly is this going to mean for Pokemon Go moving forward? Like, what kind of impact will Apex Shadows have on Pokemon Go? Well, first and foremost, this is definitely going to open up a lot of doors. Now, when you collect Shadow Legendaries, there is a possibility that Niantic will release Apex versions of these Legendaries, and it's going to make them extremely powerful. When it comes to Ho-Oh and Lugia, this is absolutely going to be the most powerful versions of both of these Pokemon. Pokemon, and I predict that Niantic will eventually release the Apex versions of a lot of Shadow Legendaries that we've already received. This includes Pokemon like Mewtwo, the Legendary Beasts, and of course the Legendary Bird Trio. I'm really excited to see what kind of power scaling that these Shadow Legendaries will have once they get their Apex forms, and I do think that for a lot of players this adds a lot of excitement and a lot of potential for some really awesome gameplay, and I really do think that introducing this now is a really great move on Niantic's part. I've been saying this for a while in a lot of the videos that I've released this year, but I do think that the year 2022 is the prime year that Niantic needs to try out a lot of new things in order to keep Pokemon Go relevant and interesting. And let me tell you, releasing Apex Shadow Legendaries, this concept is definitely along those lines. Now, I'm actually very curious how these Apex Legendaries are going to make other Legendaries feel, because with the introduction of Apex Shadow Ho-Oh and Apex Shadow Lugia, it's going to make a lot of other Pokemon completely obsolete. Like, if Aeroblast ends up being one of the top attacks that you can have for flying types, then you probably will not need to bring your Moltres and even Mega Pidgeots. And of course, with Apex Shadow Ho-Oh, the fact that Sacred Fire Plus is going to give you such a boost in fire damage in raid battles, I do not necessarily know if other fire types will even compare. And although the shadow damage bonus is still going to make these legendary Pokemon just a little bit stronger even with the purified bonus to these moves, I do like the fact that Niantic is trying to add a lot more incentives to purify your shadow Pokemon, because for the longest time we've had a lot of different shadow legendaries and shadow Pokemon that just edge out a lot of the purified versions of these Pokemon, but if they were to continue along these lines when it comes to purification mechanics, I really do think that it will create more incentives for players to spend those resources to purify their Pokemon, because in terms of flavor, it just makes sense that we should purify these shadow Pokemon, but because of the gameplay implications, players have opted not to spend those resources in order to purify their legendaries and powerful Pokemon. So I really do like that Niantic is trying out new things, and this is something that I've been wanting for Pokemon Go for a long time now, and I'm really glad that Niantic is finally delivering. But yeah, there's so many implications for this. I would really like to see an Apex Shadow Mewtwo released pretty early. I think that would be a very bold move from Niantic. That way they could release a lot of other Shadow Legendaries, and we don't necessarily have to sit there and anticipate when they are going to release Apex Shadow Mewtwo. Now, data miners have already uncovered that there's going to be a different kind of Shadow for Entei, Suicune, and Raikou, which is of course the Legendary Beasts, and I really do think that it would be very interesting if these were the Pokemon that would receive the Apex Shadow treatment. I think for Entei and Raikou, they were once the most powerful fire type and electric type, and it would be really cool to see them return to that status once again, once they receive their Apex Shadow forms. And then of course there is Suicune, which has needed a lot of love for a very long time. It's one of those Pokemon that a lot of players like, but they refuse to use because there is no gameplay reason to use this Pokemon. It doesn't have that great of a moveset, and its stats do not make it a great gym attacker or a raid attacker, so it'd be really nice to see the Apex Shadow version of Suicune get a really powerful move. That way players will opt to use this Pokemon, because personally I think it's one of the coolest legendaries that we currently have in Pokemon Go. It's just unfortunate that there really is no gameplay reason to use this Pokemon. But with the Apex Shadow version, that might be something that could change. So yeah, really exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of things happen in the future with Apex Shadow Legendaries, and I would love to know your thoughts regarding Apex Shadow Legendaries down below. Of course, Apex Shadows doesn't necessarily have to apply exclusively to Legendaries. We could also end up with some really cool Apex Shadow Pokemon like Metagross and Tyranitar. I think all of these could have a severe impact on Pokemon Go and could make the game a lot more fun for some players. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Let's have a great discussion. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And I am Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.